Hey guys, welcome to the Pilot Jam for Friday, May 30th. Last Pilot Jam of May. And it's good to be with you guys on a Friday night. It's been a while. And I'm not, all I can say is that we've been doing a lot of filming. It's been a lot. I got an error message from YouTube for some reason on the bitrate, but it looks fine. Anyway, I just wanted to welcome you guys to the Pilot Jam of Friday night. Looks like Freddie was here first. And YouTube started this new thing. I don't know the whole little number 1, number 2, number 3. You guys Google that and let me know what that means. But a quiet night tonight, huh? Freddie's first, Johnny Stansel, Todd Mosley, how you doing? And Kahuta's here. So other than that, pretty quiet tonight. There's William Tam. Make sure when you check in, you say hello so I know who's out there. And we'll get started. So weekend review-wise, or it's actually really more like a month in review because the last Pilot Jam was early in the month and then we skipped a couple and here we are. So it's been quite a month. we did some traveling, some flying, we did some new footage, new camera, new airplanes, new types of flying. We did carrier landings. It's been a crazy busy month flying. A lot of videos. So I'm going to start out by looking at the first one after the last Pilot Jam was the ExpressLRS bug that can crash your heli. Rotor flight pilots must watch. That one, so Offer Shmuley and VenBS got together and put together a widget where they used the MSP in rotor flight for some calls. And they're using it in a way that wasn't intended. And it exposed a bug that had been there all along. They didn't create it. I want to be clear about that. My reading of it, they didn't create the bug. The bug was there, but because they were using the MSP in a new way, it kind of brought it to the surface, I guess, would be the way to put it. So let's, I'm still getting complaints about the stream rates. Let me see if I can adjust it. Oh, let's see. I see the problem. It says 2,500. Let's try something a little higher. Let's try that. See if that helps. We'll jack the stream rate up a little bit and see if that helps the widget or helps YouTube stop complaining. So anyway, they jacked the MSP, or they started using the MSP in a way that was unintended, and it surfaced this bug. And right away, the ExpressLRS guys, I reached out to Dr. Rotor and the ExpressLRS guys and found out that they had a fix in place, so they knew what to do to solve it. And they went to work, and actually the release that came out within like just a few days of me posting that video, 3.5.5, I think 3.5.5 on ExpressLRS solved the bug. But that said, the rotor flight guys were still saying, but that's really not the way we intend for the MSP to be used, and maybe you shouldn't do that because it'll slow down your packet rate. So I wanted to mention that to you guys on the dashboard. The dashboard does work. The bug was crushed, but apparently the packet rate, the controls, the number of packets that go into control are reduced when you start calling the MSP the way they're doing it. So just a public service announcement. You might want to look into that, but the bug is definitely crushed. So that was it for that one. The next one was Dave's Extreme Flight Raven. He got the 85-inch Raven out there, and I've looked at that one a couple of times. I don't really care for the red, white, and I think it's kind of like a purple color. I didn't really care for that, but Dave likes it, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. So he flew that plane, and he's really enjoying it. You guys know, if you watch Dave fly, he kind of likes that, kind of like the pattern style flying, I guess. He's a fan. And the Raven kind of gives him a little bit of that. It gives him that pattern style of flying. And so he's been enjoying the plane. He's been having a good time with it. And I think I want to fly it. I want to try it out. I think it might be an interesting airframe. It's got that really long tail moment, and that's the thing that Dave really likes. It's not as tumbly. It will tumble, but it's not as tumbly. But it's got that really long tail moment, and Dave appreciates that, and kind of makes it fly a little more sedate and a little more, it's like a little more precise, I guess, a little less twitchy. And there might be something to be said for that. He really enjoys flying it. I might have to try that one out. Okay, next up we had the the game changer, that was the Rotor Flight dashboard. That's the video I was just talking about that we needed to make sure that we had some understanding of what was going on with that MSP so that we know, what the deal is there. So that was the video on how to set up the dashboard. And then the next one, I made the EdgeTX power tips every pilot should know, but most don't. What I was really focused on there, what I was really trying to pay attention to there was giving you guys tips that may not be commonly known or understood, and that's why I called them pro tips. They're things that are a little bit more advanced, I guess. And the intention there obviously was to give you guys material to use that would expand your use and knowledge of EdgeTX and make the radio more functional for you. So that one got actually some really good traffic. And if you haven't watched that one, I'd highly recommend it. It's definitely a good video. Next up, I did the seaplane. I did the maiden on the seaplane, and we did that because I knew I was going to West Palm Beach, and I wanted to make sure that the plane flew correctly. That all my controls were right, the balance was right, the battery worked, everything worked before I made the trip to West Palm because we knew we were going out on the boat. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to maiden that plane. And that's what that one was. And it was a little introduction to the plane. It's actually a nice little plane. I kind of enjoyed flying it, although like so many other PNPs in that genre, not saying seaplanes, just the kind of sport foamies, it just needs a little more power. And I know if you guys follow my channel, I like the power. I like that 3-to-1 thrust to weight, 300 watts per pound. I think Dave rolls his eyes every time I'm like, that's not strong enough. So anyway, it's a decent little plane. One of the guys left a comment and said, hey, stab a 4S battery in there. The ESC and the motor can take it. And believe it or not, when we went down to West Palm Beach, I had a 4S battery ready to go. But I wanted to get my video footage in first before I tried it. That way, if I did blow the ESC, we at least had our video footage. So I didn't get a chance to give it a try because while we were flying that West Palm Beach, I crashed it. And I think I got the ESC a little wet and it started misbehaving and being a jerk face about it. So I wasn't able to continue flying the plane. At the end, I donated the plane to Shane's son. So Shane I need to send him a care package with an ESC and a prop so you can replace the ESC and a prop and he can take his son out and fly that plane. But it's a decent little plane. I actually enjoyed flying it. And on the water, it was really good. So if you guys are into water flying, water-based ops, lake flying, ocean flying, that was a decent little airplane on the water. And landing it was just a piece of cake. My biggest complaint, just needs a little more power. That's all. So let's see. The next one was the raw footage, and I do have stuff to talk about there. I have a segment on this little gem right here. We'll talk about this. We'll get into that in a little bit. But Dave and I were out. I have a new camera again, and we were out working on the camera. And I was just trying different things. I was trying different color profiles. I was trying this using a technique. If you guys are into flying at all, you'll hear or videography at all. You've probably heard of this phrase called log. So I'm trying log footage so that it gives you more dynamic range, which means we're out flying. You get the sky and the grass and the dark colors and the bright colors. The camera, when you use log footage, it gives you more dynamic range. It's a long, complicated story. I'm not going to bore you with here, but bottom line is we were out trying different things, different frame rates, resolutions, color profiles, and I really, when I was experimenting with the ARS flight, I just went up for a practice flight and I said, hey, Dave, let's try this setting, this group of settings. Go ahead and just film it. And when I get back to the office, I'll see, what I like, if I like it or not. And then when I got it, I was just kind of floored at how good it looked. And instead of editing it, it wasn't intended to be a production video. Because Dave was just kind of goofing around. I was goofing around. I was doing repetitive stuff in my flying, practicing maneuvers. And I thought, well, what would be interesting is just doing it raw, doing an uncut, no script, no explanation, just raw footage. And you guys can see, the work that goes in behind the scenes. That was really the objective, was to share what happens behind the scenes. And I really wanted to show the really cool footage that I got out of the camera. So we'll keep working on the camera, but I think I've got a pretty good formula at this point for it. So that brings us to number 7. This is what happens when you screw up frame rate. That wasn't entirely my fault. And I have a complaint against the AV dorks out there, AV nerds out there. So it turns out that 60 frames per second isn't exactly 60 frames per second. It's more like 59.94 frames per second. But who knew, right? If you're not an AV nerd, how would you know that? So I take this footage of Freddie flying, and Fred did a great job. And, I get home, it's 60 frames per second. By the way, that was one of the things I tried was, the 60 frames per second footage. A lot of the AV nerds on YouTube, they're all about the 24 frame cinematic, the cinematic view. But this is an action sport, man. When you're flying, helicopters really fast, airplanes really fast, it's a lot of action. So with the action, you kind of want maybe a higher frame rate. And that's what I was experimenting with. So anyway, long story short, we take this footage in 60 frames per second. I get home, I drop it in DaVinci Resolve, and I told DaVinci Resolve, hey, it's 60 frames per second. And it said, okay. I drop it on my timeline, I edit it, I render the video, and lo and behold, when I render it and I put it on YouTube, I'm watching YouTube, I'm like, what the hell is going on? What is with that ghosting? I see all this nasty ghosting. What is the deal here? Well, it turns out the footage wasn't actually 60 frames per second. It was 59.94, and it has something to do with NTSC broadcast standards back when we used to run television over the air, and the AV nerds haven't fixed it yet. So when you film at 60 frames per second on the camera, it's actually 59.94, but then when you drop it in a 60 frames per second timeline on your video editor, DaVinci took that literally and said, okay, well, he said 60 frames per second. So what happens is you wind up missing a few frames every now and then. And DaVinci had no choice but say, well, he said 60, I only have 59.94, so I'm just going to make some stuff up. And that's what it does. And that's what caused the ghosting. So thanks a lot, AV nerds. They got to fix this stuff, man. When it says 60, it should mean 60, not 59.94. Dang it. Anyway, that's so lesson learned, but I posted the video, and you know what's funny? You guys kill me about this. So I posted the serious video and then the oops, I screwed up video, and the oops, I screwed up video has more hits than the serious video. That's so funny, man. I'm just going to start labeling all my videos. Well, we crashed and burned or screwed up or failed or whatever. I probably wind up getting a lot more hits. Anyway, the next video was the serious one. Remember the heli guy? He's flying planes now and crushing it. So Fred, he's been flying fixed wing. I don't know. I think it's around 6 months. We need to get an exact date, Fred. We need to figure out exactly when you started. But he's really advanced, and part of it is, he flew helicopters. So he had all the orientation stuff. Like he knew, oh, there's the raw footage on the ARS I was telling you about. That's the one. Also, nobody commented that I did motion tracking. I did the nice graphics thing and nobody said anything. I couldn't believe it. You guys, I was surprised that nobody said anything about that motion tracking. I tracked the airplane with text. It was something new I haven't tried before. But anyway, Fred, he's got the helicopter thing down, and that helps with this stick control and orientation, of course. But he's really advancing fast in the 3D stuff, and he's doing great, and he has no fear. I got to tell you, there were a couple of times watching that video and watching him fly that he's kind of got my attention a couple of times. I'll say that, but Fred is really he's doing great. He's really doing really well. Having a good time, flying fixed wing. And I think he's doing more fixed wing than heli these days. So anyway, that brings us to number 9, which is this is the dumbest thing we ever tried, and it worked, and that was the carrier landings. And boy, did we ever have a good time with that. We got some rain. It was a little hot, but man, we had such a good time. And I just want to make sure I say thanks again to Shane. He was so gracious hosting us, letting us go out on his boat. He actually brought an airplane, and when I crashed my Seawind, we had to do the rest of the flying that day using his plane. So thanks, Shane, for letting us use your seat. You're super easy and taking us out on your boat. And then after that, being such a great host, he took us to his home and fed us a wonderful barbecue, and we got to socialize with his family and friends, and we had a great time. It really, really was very pleasant. We had a nice time. And then after that, Fred and I made our way down to AMPS on Saturday. And I do have some footage from AMPS. That's where I saw raw. The next video is filmed. Number 10 was the SAB Goblin Pro 520 revealed. I met up with Bert down there at AMPS in Miami, and he flew the Goblin Pro 520. And, Bert's just such an amazing pilot, outstanding pilot. That airframe is ready for order on bkhobbies.com, so make sure you check that out if you want to check into that Goblin Pro 520. And I'm telling you, man, that's what way back when, if you guys remember, the guys who have been around for a while will remember this. When when the RAW 700 was out first, and then there was an announcement there'd be a RAW 580, and I was so excited to hear about the RAW 580, and they produced this creamsicle looking pastel Miami Vice 10th grade, middle school girl colored scheme helicopter, and I was just devastated because I didn't want it. The colors ruined it for me, and it took a long time before they actually revealed additional color schemes that were available to buy, but they eventually got to it. So I did wind up with a RAW 580, but then the Il Goblin Pro 520, it kind of fixes all the stuff that needed fixing. It's got the non-removable canopy, so you can slide your battery in from the back. It's got the quick connector. It's got the really nice battery release on there. The head is pretty much the same. It's got that nice fiberglass boom. It looks spectacular. Such a good looking helicopter. My problem now is I've got the RAW 420, I've got the RAW 500, I've got the RAW 580, so I'm having a hard time justifying that 520. I think we need to get Fred into a RAW 500 somehow, and maybe I'll get the Il Goblin Pro 520. It's a great looking helicopter, and I love the way it looked like it flew very well, and thanks to Bert for sharing that with RCVR for first impression. As far as I know, we got the first video in the world outside of what Bert did. Outside of what Bert put on his channel on Facebook, we got the first video on that. So it was really, it's nice to have friends. And then finally, the 10 Commandments for EdgeTX, essential for new pilots. I made that video, and it was kind of a follow-up to the 10 pro tips, but I was kind of in the mood to try something new. I wanted to do the idea was I wanted to do something that was kind of like, hey, if you're new to flying EdgeTX, then these are things that you really need to do. And so I had this idea of commandments, and then I thought, wait, there's a theme there. And so I generated the image with AI, and I wrote the commandments, wrote the script, and did the video. And then while I was filming it, I thought, why? I don't need to talk. Why not? Let's just make this a nonverbal video. And I thought I would probably get some mixed reviews. I thought some people would be like, oh, that's sacrilege. You shouldn't, joke about religion like that. And I thought some people would, laugh and give a chuckle. Well, it turns out, most people, had a good laugh with it and a chuckle, and it was meant to be fun. It was just meant to be kind of a goof, but the topic was serious. And I did try and make sure that when I did the video demos, that everything that you saw in the video was legitimate, like easy to see, easy to understand what I was doing. I went really slow. I zoomed in on the meaningful thing on the camera. So it was different. I was just trying to have a little bit of fun, trying to exercise the creative chops a little bit. I tried some new techniques with alpha filters and smoke, as you guys saw if you watched that one. But it's a fun video, and if you haven't checked it out, I hope you do. But some people, we'll talk about it in comments and questions, but some people loved it. Some people are like, not so much. But it's okay. Everybody doesn't have to love everything. It's different strokes for different folks. Like I said, I was just trying to have a little bit of fun. So anyway, that's it. That's the month in review. I told you it was long. And then of course we got the PilotJam, and I left that off the list. So the PilotJam for 5:10, which is today. Or 5:30, which is today. All right, so let's see. I'm going to go back and check and see who else checked in, and then we're going to get into material. It was a long review. All right, let's see. William Tam, his last one. Riz FPV joined just in time while I fix my Apex frame. Okay, good on you. David Hogue says, hey guys, Johnny Stansel, the 10 Commandments video was a mess. Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate that. I had a lot of fun with it. I was trying to do something different. And so I appreciate the comment. Thank you. Arian May. Hello from Arian May, Santa Barbara, California. How you doing, Arian? Glad you could join us. Stan Heaton. Hello from Arkansas. Jay Largo, my friend from Arizona. How you doing, Jay? It's been a while, my friend. Good to see you. Glad you can make it. Always fun to have you around. Let's see. David Hogue. It's going, trying not to drown with all the rain. Yeah, I'll tell you what. We've had some serious rain here too. It's been crazy. A lot. Sergio says, Grande Professor. Okay, I think that's me. I'll take it. David Hogue says, have you been out to JCAC lately? I don't even know where that is. I'm not sure. Tell me where that is. I'm not sure. So I'm going to say no because I don't know where it is. Fast Freddy, I made it. You made it back, huh, Fred? You woke up from your nap. Let's see. Johnny says, David, during the week when it was nice. Okay. And Mr. Skyrider, Keith, how you doing from Massachusetts? How you doing, my friend? Good to see you. I'm at the Pierce Vale concert. Okay, nice. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Yeah, I don't know what all these little crown things are. I think they're points. If you get points for participating, maybe. I'm really not sure. Maybe it's for tips. I don't know. It can't be for tips because Freddie didn't leave any tips. He's number 3. He started at number 1. It's got to be for comments. It's got to be for whoever makes the most comments. So Fred, you're getting bumped. Johnny Stansel looks like he's got the crown right now, followed by David Hogue, and then finally Freddie. D. Griffiths is here. How you doing, Dan? Glad you can make it. Okay. Let's get into content. I've got some things to cover for you guys. Okay, first up is the new camera. So we're going to go into the big camera, and there it is. It focused. Yay. I'm happy with that. I'm still having a little battle. Okay, so the new camera. I picked up a Lumix GH7, and the reason that I did that is because the GH6, which is now up there, it's that camera right there. That's what you're watching. The GH6, it had an autofocus mode on it called contrast detect. And again, I promise you, I'm not going to be getting geeky about this, but the autofocus method on the GH6 or GH5 Mark II, which is what that one is, was okay. It's not bad in a desktop environment like you see here. So like, just to give you a little test, I'm going to take this lens cap off and you can see that's in focus, right? You can see that. And then if I bring it up, it should focus. It does okay with that. And then go back down and it should pick up focus again, right? So not bad. It's doing okay with that. But I can tell you at the field, it struggled. And in my garage, it struggled. So in the garage, if you guys watch any of my garage videos where you really see it is on the wrenches in the background on my pegboard, you'll see a pulsing on the wrenches like it's going in and out, in and out. And it's because the camera wasn't sure what to focus on. And in the contrast detect autofocus, it just struggled. Now, the GH7, they released a new autofocus called Phase Detect Autofocus. And I'm not going to lie, the Phase Detect Autofocus is amazingly good. Man, when this camera locks on, it locks on. So, you know, if in one of the places I got to first use it was when we were looking at one of the airplanes with Dave. I think it was the ARS. No, it was the seaplane. It was the Sea Wind. That video, I was looking at Dave and the camera was focused on him. And then I took the camera and I zoomed way in. I extended the focal length and looked way in at the canopy and it locked right in instantly. It picked it up like that and it locked in. I was like, yes, that's what I was hoping for. So now the good news is the GH7 that I have here and the GH5 Mark II that I have there are not entirely different from each other in terms of operation. So I didn't have to relearn an entire new menu system, but I did have to kind of learn how to use the focus, and I had to configure. You would not believe if I'll turn this on and show you guys. Oh, do I have a battery? I do have a battery. I'll take the lens cap off, but you guys will not believe the menu system on here. If you think your iPhone's got some controls, you should pick one of these things up. So, you know, the menuing system on, and see there's the problem with focusing again. Okay, so there it is, man. The menu system on these things is just, it's ludicrous. And, you know, in order to get these cameras to work and get the maximum out of them, you really kind of have to learn what all these different things do. So your iPhone, believe me when I tell you, it's got nothing on a professional camera. These cameras are absolutely stunning in their capabilities. So anyway, the GH7 Mark II, this is now the new field camera. This will be the one I'll be doing the interviews with. I'll tell you another place we got to see it is in the RAW Ill Goblin 520 video where Bert was talking and I was focused on Bert and then he wanted to show the battery lock and I zoomed in on the battery lock. You can see it shift immediately down to the helicopter and lock in. It was just so good. So anyway, one other thing that we're picking up is we're learning a little bit about focal length in what's called infinity zoom, and we're practicing our techniques there too. And this is Dave and Fred and myself. And there we go. So there's a problem. I don't know why the camera just quit on me like that. And it just came back. Okay. So Dave and I and Fred are practicing some of these, you know, filming techniques, utilizing the focal length and infinity focus. So, you know, we're still working on, you know, making sure that the camera gives us the best performance we can get on the videos. So all I can say is, you know, be patient. We're doing the best we can. We're learning. And, you know, as I learn, I teach Dave and Fred, and they're really the ones that are handling the camera at most of our events. So anyway, new camera again. And, you know, we're trying to learn it the best we can. and we're having a good time with it. You know, I'm picking up some new techniques, and I was never really the AV guy, but you know, I'm having to learn because of the YouTube channel. It's just the way it is. Okay. All right. So that's a new camera again, and I'll see what's going on here in terms of comments. Because Kajuda says your contribution level. Oh, in terms of comments, is that what it is? I was asking Johnny. It's in Smithfield, North Carolina. I see. Gotcha. It's also to get you to buy a super chat to level up. Clever girl. Huh. Okay. Well, you guys want to level up. It won't hurt my feelings. Okay. So that's it for the camera. And then we can get into the 12. Okay. This is one of these scenarios where it's like, you know, when you start breaking into new areas of technology. So I started, you know, with the Il Goblin Pro. I got really tired of fiddling around with multiple balance leads and connections and the quick connector. So I decided I was just going to start making 12S packs. And then lo and behold, I did the ARS 102, and you know, that takes 4 batteries. So I made 2 12S packs for that. So now I'm right back where I started, except the batteries are much bigger. Anyway, it turns out the funny thing about it is that if you get a 12S battery, the problem is you don't have balance checkers. There are no balance checkers for 12S. So I went out and I scoured the internet, and I'll see if I can get the camera to pick it up. It's going to be a little blown out because of the, there it is. Come on. Is it going to do it? That's not a focus issue. That's a lighting issue because it's such a bright screen. But I went out to the internet and I hunted down a 12S balance checker. You cannot find these, man. They don't exist. And I found this one. I think it was in Poland. And I think I got the last one too. I went to a store called One Drone, and I saw it. It's exactly what I wanted. So it's got the 12 pins on the bottom. It's got the nice little screen on the front. This little button, all it does is switch and show you like input voltage and, you know, a little summary screen. So it'll toggle back and forth between the two. There is a signal. Obviously it's a servo connection. So power in and power out. I'm not sure if maybe that moves the servo. I haven't tried it yet. There's no manual for the thing, you know, so it's somewhat useless on that front. But the reason I wanted to have it was because when I go flying, if you're going to take a 12S battery and plug it into your helicopter, you want to make sure you've got the voltage. So I had to make sure that I had something that could tell me whether or not the battery was peaked up. So that's why I got it. So a little 12S voltage checker. And I got to tell you, I'm a little surprised some of the traditional players haven't jumped on this one yet and gotten into this little 12S checker. Because this is the only one that I was able to find. Only one out there on the entire internet. It's kind of crazy. So I don't know if you're in the electronics industry, or you know people who are, this wouldn't be a terrible idea. Just saying, you know, getting them to get out there and produce some 12S checkers, because I don't think this is going away. I'm starting to see more and more 12S stuff out there on the market. So 12S battery checkers. All right. And of course the camera is giving me grief. I don't know why it's like disconnecting every couple of seconds. So I'll have to work that out. We'll have to figure out what that's all about. Can't have that. Okay. So the 12S balancer, I just figured I'd let you know my trials and tribulations. You know, you're breaking new ground getting into 12S batteries, you know, and suddenly you realize you don't have the hardware, and that's very common hardware. A balance checker, you kind of need one of those. So at least I have one now. All right, next up, the dead Hoda F6. You know, this is one of those topics that I was really, I didn't know if I was going to bring it up in the PilotJam or not, and I decided I would. And at the end of the day, what happened was I took the F6 out on the boat, and we're pretty sure it got wet because the next day it just wouldn't charge. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because if you guys go out there, this is another one of these problems. And I think, you know, it's just a reflection of the times. The last PilotJam, I told you, with all the tariffs going on and all this uncertainty in the marketplace, if you need something, go get it. You remember? I told you guys that because I was serious. You know, you had to go out and get what you needed, because if you didn't, there's a pretty good chance that you might not be able to get the things that you need. So in my case, what happened with the Hoda F6, it died, And I went out there hunting for a replacement, and I can't find them. The only ones that I found were Banggood and AliExpress. That's it. No retailers in the US had the Hoda F6, and that thing used to be in stock everywhere. Like, that was a pretty common charger. So, you know, I know there's been some, again, I'm not being political, right? I'm just a statement of fact regarding what's out there in the market. It's still a little uncertain. You know, I'm feeling like it's still a little uncertain because of, you have a very common charger like the Hoda F6, and by the way, you can get the Hoda D6 and a bunch of ISDT stuff. You know, that's still kind of out there, but it's possible that might have been in inventory already. But there's a surprising lack of 4-port high power chargers out there on the market. Surprising. There's a Toolkit RC version. I forget the model number. It doesn't matter. But the reason I didn't like that one is because it's AC, and I don't want to haul an AC charger to the field. I prefer the form factor of that Hoda because it's kind of small for what it is, and it's DC only, and I appreciate that. So anyway, I'm just mentioning it again as a follow-up. My own practical real-life experience with this tariff situation is that I'm in need of something and I can't get it because, you know, there's just uncertainty out there in the inventory levels. So again, I would say if you need something for the hobby, the summer flying season is here. If you need something, go get it, man. You know, go get it. Go get it. Don't wait. I don't think in the next couple of months it'll be any easier. Although, you know, I know there's some temporary agreement in place. You know, there's some temporary agreement. Maybe that'll ease up, and maybe we'll get some deliveries going, and we'll get some inventory restocked, and maybe those problems will be solved. We'll see. We'll see. All right, let's see. RB is here from Brazil. Hello, Rodeo Pilot. How you doing, man? Good evening from Longwood, Florida. Hey, local boy. All right, nice. Okay, that's it on the Hoda F6. Next up, all right, this one, I'm going to bring this one up because this is a question that I started seeing in, it was a question I got in comments, and the guy said, hey, I got a model from a friend of mine, and it's a YAML file. And when I can't get my radio to recognize it. What's the deal? And I said, well, all you need to do is to drop your model file. Oops, my radio was already on. All you need to do is drop your model file in the models folder on your radio, and EdgeTX should pick it up. Now, I didn't do all the qualifying questions like, is what version of Edge are you on? You know, what version of Edge is your friend on? You know, is he giving you a YAML file that's an equivalent version? Are they the same radio? I didn't ask all those qualifying questions. I just would have assumed that you know, they would know. But I got to tell you guys, honestly, if you're watching this video and you ask questions like that, you really need to get on Discord, okay? Discord is such a better venue for questions like this because it allows back and forth. On YouTube, it's really terrible for that. You can do it, but here's the deal. Here's the reality. If you don't know this, life of a YouTuber. If somebody leaves a comment, I get a notification that someone left a comment. If I go back, now that's the last that I'll get. I'll get one notification. So I can either choose to react or ignore it. So if I go react to it and say I post a response, and then the user comes back after my response and says something, I don't get a notification that you did that, which is why I can't stand YouTube as a platform for support, right? And helping people out. You got to get on Discord. On Discord, there's two things that happen. One, there's a lot more people on Discord answering questions than just me. So, and by the way, I keep an eye, and so does the community. They watch each other, so they help each other. So Discord is better because there's a lot of people there that can help answer questions. That's number one. And number two, it's live. It's real time. So once you get somebody talking to you live, you can go back and forth until the issue's solved. So it's just a much better platform, and I would encourage you guys, if you can ask these types of questions, get on Discord, okay? All right, now, that said, I'm going to show you my model screen, and I'm gonna get a little bit, let's see. There we go. So here's my model screen on my radio, and I'm gonna long press the model button. Oops, I'm already in that screen. And anyway, you can see all the stuff that I've got, right? I've got all these models on here on this radio, all kinds of stuff on here. All right, so that I just wanted to show you that before I start this demo. And I'm leveling up your EdgeTX experience here, guys. So, you know, pay attention to this because, it's kind of important on how it works. So I'm going to mount my SD card, and we'll see the TX16S pop up here in just a second on my computer. There it is, hiding in the helicopter next to the servo. You see that? That's Windows. That's Macs for you. They hide stuff. Look at that. Right next to that silver servo. Can you spot that? I didn't even see it. Okay, so here's my TX16S. I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to open my models directory, right? And I'm going to go in here, and I'm just going to delete everything. I'm going to blow it all away. I'm going to leave one model and one label file, okay? We'll leave model 73 and the label file. Now, a lot of you guys might be saying, oh my gosh, is he crazy? He's lost his mind. He just deleted all of his models. Now, I would love to see somebody in chat answer why John was able on a live stream to just blow away all of his models and not be worried about it. Someone that watched the commandments video is going to know the answer to this, right? Oops. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So hopefully someone in the chat will answer why I can do that. Okay. So now we're going to go back. I'm going to bring up the big screen again. I'm going to bring up the Zoom screen, and we're going to long press. Oh, did it not finish deleting? Maybe it didn't finish deleting. Yeah, it kind of did. Oh, that's it. My labels are still there. Okay, so that's it. So all I have is the one model. That's my big ARS, right? That's all I've got. That's all that's left on this radio. That's it. Okay, that's all. That's all that's left. One model. Okay, now so I just wanted to prove I deleted everything except probably the last model I added, or second to last, which is the ARS, the 102-inch ARS. Okay, that's all that's left on this radio. So now I'm going to replug my radio. We're going to plug that back in. Go to the SD card. I don't think I've seen an answer yet as to why I was able. Oh, because it's backed up. There it is. David wins. Oh no, Johnny Stansel got it first. John has a backup. That's right. When you have a backup of your stuff, you can act with impunity. It doesn't matter what you do. You can do whatever you want to do because you have a backup. And here's my backup. I already did that ahead of the video, right? I just took a copy of my models. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is open up my SD card again, and I'm going to show you that all that's left is my labels.yaml, and you can see inside the only airplane it knows about is model 73, the ARS 300. That's all it knows. Now keep in mind, this label file was regenerated when I unplugged the SD card. The radio regenerated the labels file all by itself. I did nothing. I did nothing at all. And it said, oh, he's got a file in here, model 73 YAML. It's the correct format. So let's go ahead and add that to his model selector, which is why you saw it in my pick list. Okay. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, just to kind of, again, prove the point, I'm going to bring up my backup. Here's my backup right here. And I'm going to expand the models folder. And you guys can see in my models folder, in my backup, I still have all my stuff. And let's see, we kept model 73. That's right here. I don't know why they're out of order, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Now, what I'm going to do just to prove my point is I'm going to copy just a couple of these over. I'm just going to grab, like, I don't know. Let's say my friend John gives me, 5 models that I want to try out. Okay. So I'm going to open my models folder on my radio. That's over here. This is my radio's SD card. Okay. Let's just make sure we're not confused. I'm going to open my SD card. Here's my models folder. Okay. They have two files in here, labels and model 73. That's the ARS. Okay. Now for my backup, I'm just going to grab my buddy John sent me some models to try out. I'm just going to drag these over here and let them go into my models folder. Okay. I didn't do anything. The only thing that I did was make sure that I didn't have a model 73, because if I did, I would have overwrote that, right? Or on a Mac, you can say merge or skip. So that's the only thing you really need to do is make sure this model number is not repeated. Now, if I open this labels.yaml, you can see the only thing in there is model 73. Why is that? It's because the radio hasn't had a chance to scan the models directory yet. It's still plugged in, right? So it's mounted. The SD card is mounted by the computer. So that's why this labels file is still only showing one model, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this file and I'm going to eject my SD card. We're going to eject it, all right? It's ejected. This window is going to close. There it is. Now it's ejected. Now when I unplug, what's going on is radio is saying, there's a whole bunch of new stuff in there. We don't know about it. So we're going to scan and we're going to add that stuff to our pick list or our labels.yaml. So now when I long press models, you can see I have a bunch more models there. They're automatically added. I didn't do anything. You guys saw this is live, right? There's absolutely no trick photography here, right? It just automatically discovered and said, oh, he dropped a bunch more files in that models directory, so we're going to add them to his pick list for him. And if I have labels that are applicable, it keeps the labels. So let's see, I don't know what I've got. There's Sport, there's a Ranger, right? There's the big 3D plane. I think Helis, no Helis. Sims, yep, there's a simulator. All right, so it even kept my categories for me, right? I didn't add these, I didn't add them. I didn't do anything other than drag them into the models folder. Okay, let's finish this little demo up by giving, I'm trying to show you what's going on the radio so you guys can see how it's working. So we'll go back to the workspace now, and I plugged in the radio. We should see it mount. Is it hiding? Not yet. It has a mount. Oh, it's over here now. It's making decisions about where to show up on the desktop. That's life with a Mac for you. Okay, so here now I'm going to open up the labels.yaml file right here. And when I open that up, look at what it did. Remember the first one was 73, right? That was my ARS, but it said, oh, wait, there's a Model 1. Oh, and there's a Model 2. Oh, and there's a Model 3. And it added all this stuff to the labels file automatically. This is why I freaking love the EdgeTX guys. I just want to hug them because they make this possible. This is not the way it used to work. It's not the way it used to work. So they automatically scan now and rebuild that labels file, and I'm pretty sure it happens on every boot. So whenever you drop something in there, it'll add it, okay? So now all I have to do, if I wanted to add the rest of John's models to my setup, is I can just drag them over. I can just highlight these. We'll scroll all the way down. I'm not going to do all of them because it'll take too long, but I'll just add a bunch more, okay? I'll just add a bunch more. We'll open the model folder so I put them in the right spot, and I'm just going to drag these over. And again, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. You notice it doesn't matter as long as you don't overwrite. That's the main thing. You don't want to overwrite something you already have. So like if I have a Model 1 YAML, and everybody probably has a Model 1 YAML, and my friend gives me Model 1 YAML, you don't want to copy that over because then you overwrite your Model 1. That makes sense? So that's the one thing you have to be careful for, is that you don't overwrite something that you intend to keep. But listen, if you have a backup, it doesn't matter. You cannot screw it up. So just make sure you back up your stuff, okay? All right, so now we're done copying. I'm going to go ahead and eject this now, and we will finish this little segment up. I'll unplug the radio. We'll go into the Zoom screen so you can see what's going on. It's scanning right now, rebuilding my labels file. I'm going to long press model, and now I've got all kinds of airplanes in here again. I've got there's some FPV stuff. There's some, just no helis. Jets, I've got some jets now, right? These are all, who knows what I copied over. I don't know what I copied over. But I'm just showing you this is how it works, okay? And I'm not, no trick photography here at all. Right, this is the way it works. If you drop YAML files in your models folder that work with this version of EdgeTX, the one you're on, the radio will automatically discover them. It's just the way it works. It's what happens. Okay, so that's the end of that segment. You guys are now experts on how to share model files. Just make sure you don't overwrite a model number that you want to keep. That's the key. Don't overwrite what you want to keep. And I would also encourage you guys. Now, here's the thing. I haven't tested like EdgeTX 2.8 to EdgeTX 2.11.1. Maybe you should do that. I don't know. I don't know the answer. So, I'm not going to pretend like I know that if you take a 2.8 YAML file and drop it on a 2.11 radio, that it'll work perfectly. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. My recommendation is that if you're going to do this kind of thing, make sure you're both on the same version of EdgeTX. And by the way, that was one of the commandments in the commandments video. Flash the latest stable firmware because you want to keep up with things, right? You want to be on par with all the developments. And I can tell you, I've been watching the Edge guys for 2+ years now, and I can tell you emphatically that they don't release a firmware unless it's ready to be released. Is that to say it's perfect? No, it is not. I am not saying it's perfect all the time. What I'm saying is they do their homework. They take very great care to make sure that it's ready for release. So flash the latest stable and you should be good to go. All right, let's see. Kahuta says, I back up every single change and have it its own folder with title. There you go. Regressive, progressive. I like it. Freddie's confused. Fred, don't worry, man. I'll take you under my wing and we'll get you worked out. We'll get you sorted out, Fred. Johnny says, if you delete a model from within the radio, it will save it. That's correct. It does have a deleted, so I'll show you that. That's a good point. I saw it in there. I didn't make mention of it, but I will show you guys that because it is true. There is if you delete a model, it'll go into, let's see, I have to rearrange here. So if you delete a model from within the radio, there's a folder. Let me make sure that's in view. Okay. Right here at the very top that says deleted. So if you delete a model within the radio itself, it will put it in the deleted folder. So you can always go back and recover it. All you'd have to do is take it out of there and drop it into here. That's all you'd have to do. I'm not going to do that because I have a model too, which doesn't matter because I have a backup anyway. So who cares? But anyway, that's the deleted folder that was, who mentioned that? Let's see. That was, oh shoot. I lost the chat window. Hold on a second here. I'll find it. Maybe I'll find it. There it is. It was hiding. That was Johnny who mentioned that. Good call, Johnny. Yes, correct. Correct. Absolutely correct. All right. All right. That's enough of that topic. Let's get out of here and let's move on. Let's move on with our lives, shall we? Managing models. All I'm trying to do here, guys, is level up your game. Look at Fred trying to catch the Super EZ, man. I was waiting for him to go over. And by the way, when he first tried catching, he was holding on to the brand new camera. And I was thinking, man, this is a really stupid idea. He's holding on to a brand new, quite expensive camera, and he's trying to catch a seaplane. There it is. He's going to get it. Look at that. That was nice, man. That was a nice catch. I like it. Good job, Fred. That was so much fun. We had a good time with that. A lot of fun. Okay, so anyway, now again, just trying to level up your game on managing your models. That's the way it works. That's the way the system works. So if you guys see questions out there on it, you just saw it live. We just went through examples. Make sure you share and help explain the way it works out there. Okay, share the knowledge, man. Pass it forward. Pay it forward is what they say. That's what the kids say. Pay it forward. All right, let's see. Terms of comments. What else going on here? Mr. Tahiti. Love your videos. Thou shalt follow the TX commandments. There you go. See, it's just fun, man. It was just meant to be fun. It was meant to be, in good spirits. That's all. Some of you guys really addressed, some of you guys really embraced the spirit of that video. He says that was very cool. I agree. I had fun making that one. That was fun. I got to be a little creative, All right. Let's see if I can figure out what to do next. The Blackboard Q&A comments. I used to call it Q&A, but I renamed it. Now it's called comments and questions because sometimes it's not a question. It's more of a statement. So here we go. Too Near 2 says, this is what I mean about embracing the fun of the video, right? He says, forgive me for I have sinned. That if you're Catholic, you know what that means. That's confession. You have to go into the booth and confess. Forgive me, I've sinned and ignored commandment number 3, which is logging. That was the logging comment. Now I shall never know the cause of my model's early demise. May my works of repair be whole and swift. This was so fun. This is one of the more interactive kind of things that I've been able to do with you guys. That's why I really enjoyed the video so much because a lot of guys were very clever coming back with their comments in using kind of like the biblical tone. So I gave a love to that one for Too Near 2. That was awesome, man. Great comment. And yeah, turn on logging. It's one of those things that when you listen, when I'm out flying, if I crash the plane because I did, or the model because I did something stupid, like I forgot to latch the battery, or I was trying to maneuver and failed, and I could see what I did, that's fine. That's okay. I can actually live with that. That doesn't bother me too much because I'll fix it, replace it, repair it, whatever. It doesn't bother me so much. But what does bother me a lot is if I crash and I don't know why it crashed. That bothers the living daylights out of me because I don't like the unknown. I want to know what happened. And maybe my ESC died. Okay, fine. If the ESC died, I can maybe investigate what happened. I could look at the current draw. I could look at the temperature. I could look at the age. I might look at my soldering. There's all kinds of things you can look into. Maybe it's the brand of ESC. Maybe you try a different brand after that. But the point is that you want to know what happened because if you don't know, then how do you learn? And that's the problem. That's why I encourage logging. That's why it's a commandment. You got to log. And I'm guilty as anybody else of not following it. There were times when I didn't have, if you remember the video, I put the logging in global functions now, right? And I did that because there have been times in my model setups where I forgot to enable logging, and that's bad. So you want to enable that logging, and that way, if something bad happens and it wasn't something you can immediately identify, your logs can help you figure it out. So Too Near 2, man, I really appreciate that kind of comment. It was fun to engage with you guys. It was fun to see it come back. That's what I really liked. So I put a big smile on my face the way that worked out. Mr. Oystenbach said, simply said, you're my lifesaver. My Horus X12S was dead, and I mean dead. You literally woke it up again to life. How about that? I captured that one in the spirit of the commandments, right? You brought it back from the dead. So if you bricked your radio, this was a good video. And I really, in this one, I was kind of nervous when I first did it because I actually, during a firmware update, I unplugged the radio, which is definitely a way to get it to brick. So that video shows how to recover. And this is another one of those ones where I just love this kind of feedback because it shows the work that I'm putting out there is helping people. You know, it's maybe $300-400 radio that he didn't have to toss or stop using. He was able to get it back. And I really appreciate that. That's what my channel is all about. It's about helping people. So I'm glad to see comments like that. It really makes my heart warm to see that we were able to get somebody's radio recovered and put it back out there so he could go fly something, right? All right, Andy MSH 700 says, that's weird. I'll have what he's having. If you guys, I didn't mention the shorts in the list, but Fred is just, he's such a humorous guy. He did this pirate voice. He said, the seagull stole my one good eye. During the clip for the short. That was so funny, man. I just love having Fred around. He makes me laugh. He just makes me chuckle. So Fred, hilarious stuff. And Andy says, that's weird. I'll have what he's having. That was good stuff, man. That was funny. And then here it is, David Thorne. Excellent, great presentation. He liked the commandments video. So there we go. The next guy says, Brandon Shields says, I'm glad they changed the tail servo. You know, when I was doing the video with Bert, I kind of wanted to ask about this, but he seemed to have kind of a script he wanted to get through, so I didn't interfere too much. But that was another point in terms of balancing. Yes, that's true, but there's another benefit too, and I know this was a complaint on the RAW 700, the Ill Goblin RAW 700, was when that servo's mounted on the tail and you crash, you could damage the servo, right? So that it's nice that they're putting that servo up in the front where it's in between the frames and it's kind of protected. So if you do crash, then also in addition to CG, it doesn't blow up the servo when you crash. So I thought that was really nice. And he said he had trouble balancing his RAW 500 with 3300s. And he said it's tail heavy and adding weight is sacrilege. So yeah, it seems like SAB really pays attention. I mean, I just can't say enough about SAB. They make really good helicopters. They're really good. Here's one on the other end of the spectrum. This is Carol 6121. He says, hey, I appreciate your, and by the way, pay attention. This is the way to complain, right? This is the way you complain. If you ever saw Saving Private Ryan, Tom Hanks, he was walking his guys through the forest, and they were complaining about the mission. And one of the guys, he started to complain in what we call a military manner. And Tom Hanks said, hey, listen up. This is the way you complain. This is the way you drop a complaint. He says, hey, I appreciate your EdgeTX videos. Sometimes I learn something new or can pass them on to my friends. Being 4 days a week at the flying field all year round using only EdgeTX transmitters. This specific video I passed on to two buddies which are struggling with Edge, and I got an almost immediate negative feedback from both concerning the format of the video. And I must say I partially agree. Thanks for posting. See, now that's a polite way to complain. What are you going to say? It's not for everybody. And that's what I said in my comment. Hey, I realized it wasn't going to be for everybody, but I know some people had some fun with it. So this is the way you drop a complaint on YouTube. And so fine, no worries. It's not definitely, I knew it wasn't going to be for everyone when I made it, but that's okay. Let's see, Retset, this one, see, this is another one, Embrace the Spirit. The format of this video did pleaseth me greatly. Should I nameth mine should I nameth my SH switch's arm? Will have effed up my radios, my models, which is nameth SH, or will all still work? Glory be to the great master radio. Just absolutely hilarious. But I will remind you guys, in case you forgot, on my radios, I switch SH and SF. I don't always say that in every video, but look at my SH. It's not a momentary. From the factory, that's a momentary switch. I desoldered this switch from the board and I desoldered this switch from the board and swapped them. Now I understand Radio Master sells the swap version, so you don't have to do the desoldering. But on my radios, this SF is the instant trim. It's a momentary now. So I'm going to turn my radio off because I don't want to set trim. But that's a momentary. See, I don't mention that in every video. So yeah, now I guess you could do a throttle lock on a momentary. I mean, it could be done. There's logic to allow it. You could do that to unlock if you wanted, and then hit it again to lock it. But no, on my radio, I use SH as the arming switch, and that is a 2-position switch. So just keep that in mind. It's that was so funny when I saw that. It's too funny. Yeah, don't. Yeah, be careful. Be careful. Aurism, see, this is another one. Epic. He loved it. I love that kind of comment. That's great. And then Jason P, when it comes to the RAW 520, he says, damn, why does this heli have to look so good? I know. It's one of those things kind of makes me nuts because I really want to get it. But man, I've got the Comp 420, I've got the 500, the 580. Boy, it's just kind of silly to put a 520 in the middle of all of it other than just, I don't know, it looks great, man. He's not wrong. It looks great. And I think he went out and bought it anyway. Most of them will. Once you start looking, that's what happens. All right, Aaron Paz says, hey, John, does the Lightstream ETC work with the ERS GPS? I see they're both in and out on the GPS to chain sensors together. Is there anything special you have to do to get telemetry to pass through? You know, we're of like minds. It's the first thing I thought of when I got the GPS. But the problem with ETC is that it runs off the HOT protocol. So you don't run CRSF on the UART out the for the ERS GPS, which is what it requires. You have to run HOT in order to get the ETC to work. Hopefully, what would be really, really nice is if the ETC guys, and maybe I ought to write him an email and ask him, if he could implement CRSF, then daisy chaining would work, theoretically, or could work, and you could put them together. But yeah, that was a good idea. I had the same idea. But for any of the airplanes where I'm running an ETC sensor, I can't run the GPS because I have the serial protocol set to HOT, and that's a problem. Yeah, it's a problem. It won't work with a GPS, unfortunately. It's too bad. Be nice to see some consolidation on that front, but that's the way it is. See, Mark Hoke says, thank you very much for this design. I purchased the material and made this one day. It looks awesome. You know, I wanted to mention this, the best racks ever. Dave, this was a Dave design, and I got to tell you guys, I still have these racks. I built another one. I built a third one, so I have 3 of these now, and they are just awesome. I can tell you that the little metal rails that go on the shelf, the shelf holders, they're a little expensive. They're a little spendy. I'm not gonna lie. They're expensive, but if you just get over it, just go out and spend the money, drop a few $100s, buy the rails you need, and you'll be good to go after that. And I can tell you, it holds the wings, it holds the planes, it does a beautiful job. They're still standing up perfectly straight. They're on casters. I can move them around. I just absolutely love them. And it's a great design. And by the way, there were more than one comment on the racks this week. Oddly, I don't know what happened. Maybe YouTube's recommending the video again. I'm not sure. But this one, yeah, definitely good racks. If you haven't seen this video, go hunt it down. Perfect simplicity, best RC plane storage racks ever for big RC planes. And this, by the way, that rack, where in that picture that you see on the screen, oh wait, so I'm not even on the blackboard, dang it. That picture you see on the screen right there, that's on the bottom, that's the 85-inch extra NG. That has been replaced by the 102-inch ARS. So that rack is holding a 102-inch ARS, no problem. It's no problem. RBB says, sorry, what's ETC? That stands for ESC Telemetry Converter. It's a module that is sold by rclightsystems.com in the UK, and it's a module that plugs into the programming port of a whole list of ESCs and allows you to get telemetry directly from the ESC, including the actual voltage and the actual current from your model, and it'll do MAH as well. So the reason that's nice is because if you start getting into high voltage stuff like 50 volts, like a 12S setup, you can't get that voltage from the standard receivers today. You can only get up to like 35 volts, which, you know, there are ways around it. You can plug into one battery and just measure one battery out of 2 in series, which is fine. It'll work. But the nice thing about the ETC is you can get voltage from the ESC directly. So because it's not measuring voltage, it's only taking the telemetry from the ESC. It doesn't matter what your voltage is. It can go up to 100 volts if your ESC supported it. So that's what makes the ETC so nice. Go check it out, man. rclightsystems.com. Look for ESC telemetry converter is what it's called. Very nice. They're a little expensive, but on big planes or on planes where you really want to know the current, and wouldn't be too hard to change from plane to plane either. So you don't have to buy them for every plane. You know, put one in your toolbox, you go fly, stick it on your plane, take a current measurement, and then put it back in your toolbox and put it on the next plane later. You know, you don't have to keep it in there, but if you want the actual voltage, it's a nice feature. All right, next up, are there any retail dischargers capable of killing a LiPo battery? I included this one because I told you about the Hoda F6, and in my search, I found out that the Toolkit M8D has a kill function. Very interesting. That's the one that's a touch screen, and I'm kind of thinking about that. One other thing I'd like to get this time is maybe an 8S charger, because as you guys remember, the Avanti, that's an 8S airplane. It's my only 8S plane. But the reason I'd kind of like to get an 8S charger is because that way, if I ever bring the Avanti, I don't have to bring a Avanti specific charger. So an 8S charger probably is in the cards for me next up. Maybe even just another 12S. And that way it doesn't matter what I bring. I can just charge anything. It doesn't matter if I bring the big planes, the little planes, the Avanti, it doesn't matter. 12S may be the way of the future for RC video reviews, just saying. All right, next one. This is Jive777. Great job, guys. Unedited footage of flying with no music is far better, in my opinion. Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, I was taking a real risk doing this one because it was raw and it was kind of, you know, I did make a few cuts, but they were cuts where Dave just put the camera down, like aiming at the grass. So I didn't see any reason to do that. But everything that was, you know, when he was aiming that camera, I had it on there, and no edits, nothing was hidden. You guys got to see it all. Even the language. There's sometimes language. You might be shocked to hear that, but sometimes there's some language at the field. Fred, I don't want to hear it. Fred, be careful. And that's it for Q&A. That wraps up Q&A. How about that? All right, let's go back. Let's get back to the desktop, and we'll see what is next. Comments and questions. We just covered that. We did managing models. We did comments and questions. So coming up. Okay. In terms of what's coming up, I will be stepping away from YouTube for a month. So the month of June, starting tonight, maybe I might put one more video up. But let's just say I'm taking a vacation. I'm taking some time off. I've been doing the YouTube thing for 6 years straight, and outside of, you know, a week here, a week there, I haven't really stepped away from it. It's been video production. You know, for me, on average, I'd say it's at least 10 videos a month. And it's nothing to do with YouTube. Don't misread what I'm saying. I'm not burned out or anything like that. Channel's fine. I'm fine. We're all good. Everything's happy. But it's just, I'm just going to take some time off. That's it. I'm just going to take a break and step away for a month, and we'll get back to it in July. It's that simple. Don't read anything into it. There's no mystery. There's no story. There's no fake news. It's just I'm just taking a break, and that's it. So this will be the last Pilot Jam until July. We'll come back at it in July. And hopefully what will happen is, I haven't checked the dates yet, but I really need kind of a week of flying. So after I get back in July, I need to get some, some content. I need to film something, buy something, review something. So it may be second week of July before there's another Pilot Jam, because I need to get some content together. I can tell you guys, they already have it public, so I'll share with you. The FlySky PL18 Ultra has been released. They sent me a note, asked me if I'd like to check that out, and I said yes. So that'll be on the radar soon. And then I also have incoming soon the Il Goblin Pro 700 canopy, the custom RCVR paint job coming for that. That should be here soon. Hopefully in July we'll get to put that out there, and I'll let you guys see that. I'll get that put on the helicopter real fast. We'll fly that, have some fun with that. And then the next thing is the airplane. You know, the ARS 102, the 74-inch laser, the 85-inch laser. You know, just getting some more flying in. The Avanti. You know, I've only flown the Avanti like twice, so I want to get that out there and do some flying with all this wonderful stuff that we got. And we're gonna get this GH7 and put it to work. You know, I want to see this camera out there doing some laps and filling it up, you know, filling up the SD card with some content. So, but it'll be July, guys. So just so you know, I will be on Discord, you know, I'll be online, I'll be checking things out. And that's all I can say. That's it. So I'll see you guys in July. That's what's coming up. Hey, I appreciate you hanging out with me on your Friday night. I hope you enjoyed the Pilot Jam. I hope you learned something new, and I definitely hope you get out there and fly something. I'll remind you, if you like this kind of content, a couple things. Number one, patreon.com/RC video reviews, man. The subscriptions on Patreon have been really slowing down. I'm gonna have to start putting advertisements in every freaking video again to remind you guys, get out there on Patreon. If you like what's going on, you know, I find this kind of stuff and hunt it down and share it and show it because of Patreon. You know, I can do that. Patreon helps me fund things like this camera. I got news for you. I would never buy a camera like this. I'm not an AV dork. I don't care about this kind of gear. I only do this for the videos, for the channel. That's it. That's the only reason I have this stuff. I don't care about this kind of camera. I really don't. So I do it for the channel, and the patrons are the ones that are helping me offset the cost of being able to do stuff like this. So get out there on patreon.com/RC video reviews. And I want to say thanks to all my patrons. Really enjoy having you guys sponsor the channel. I'm very, very grateful for that. Thank you. Thank you very kindly. It helps. The RCVR is not self-funded yet. I still put my money into this channel. So just keep that in mind. And if you want to help out, patreon.com/RC video reviews, that's one way to help. So thanks to you guys who are already doing that. I want to, you know, just express my gratitude about that. So that's it. I hope you guys have a fantastic month of June. I hope you get out there and fly something. That's all I've got for today. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, smash that thumbs up button so YouTube recommends my videos. But subscribe. You got to subscribe. Looking forward to your subscription. Take it easy. That's all I've got. Bye. Go fly something.